Hello, my name is Aldo Lamana, product specialist for Steinberg, and today we'll be presenting Nuendo 7, the new version of Nuendo, here at BPM College in collaboration with Halilit. So, good day everyone. Thank you for coming. Welcome to the Nuendo presentation. My name is Aldo Lamana. I'm the product specialist for Steinberg for the export channel. And today I will be guiding you through the main features of the new version of Nuendo, Nuendo 7. So, as you might know, Nuendo and Cubase, all this software was created in Hamburg. So I'm going to give you a little story of how this all came to place. So Hamburg is a pretty rainy place, so it's very good to make some music and make some software. And two guys, one named Steinberg and the other guy named Rurup, they got together and they had a dream to make music with a computer. And that was a long, long time ago when they developed the first software called Pro 16. 1984, so more than 30 years ago. This was only MIDI, so we now own MIDI, of course, but by that time it was not as developed. So some things from this software has been kept, like for example, the piano roll. You can find that in the first version of Cubase, which was put out in 1989. So in this version, you could have your Atari and MIDI, and it was amazing. So, these guys started developing even more software, and they, in the year 1991, they, for the first time, incorporated audio into Cubase. So, Cubase Audio, it was a big thing to have MIDI, and then also audio in your computer that you could edit. So, it was really, at that time, a breakthrough. And, of course, after you make all your songs, then you need a mastering suite. So that's when Wavelab came to play. So you have all your songs, you want the same loudness and the track IDs, and you give that to the pressing stage, and this is what Wavelab is all about. And Cubase VST in 1996 was the first one to introduce the VST protocol, which is something that we all know nowadays, but VST stands for Virtual Studio Technology. And it was basically to have synthesizers inside your computer, which now is just completely normal. One of the nice things of Steinberg is that they opened the VST protocol so that you or me or whoever wants to do a VST could make a VST. So, in the year 2000, Nuendo got introduced, Nuendo being made for post-production. So a whole different thing than Cubase, although it has some similarities in some ways, but it's completely thought about as a post-production tool. And 2015, we have Nuendo 7. So, a little bit about myself. I studied two careers that are directly connected with Steinberg. One was audio engineering and production, and the other was music synthesis, which is basically programming synthesizers and computers to make music. And most of all, I'm really a software enthusiast, mostly creative software enthusiast. And that's why for me it's a pleasure to be here today. And I want to thank Idan and Ilan and BPM to have us here. It's really, really nice to be here, and we really hope to come back in the near future. So, main usages of Nuendo: film and post-production, advertisement, Game audio, we're stepping into it now with this version, and I will be showing you the connectivity with WWISE. ADR, which is basically automatic dialogue replacement. So if you have a documentary in English and you want to put it into another language, you have to dub all the dialogue. This is what ADR is all about. Mixing, of course. We have a lot of mixing tools and surround prepared VSTs and tools, mostly for film scores, but also for music, of course. And, well, with Nuendo Live, we have also a solution for the live concert. If you put them together with the Yamaha consoles, then you have a very powerful system. It even starts recording 16 seconds before you press record. So even if you don't remind yourself to press record, you will have a minute in advance of pre-recorded data. And of course, sound design, music production, and film scoring. And I want to start with the main thing of Nuendo, which is film and TV post-production. So, a very common thing nowadays that is not going to be common anymore is that you got a video and then you made your sound design, you put your Foley, your dialogue, and you're ready to go. And the night before, they give you a new video with a new version, and you have to rearrange the whole project. So, the problem, you're working on the soundtrack, or a TV episode, or a trailer. You finish, and you want to go home, of course. And then the editor comes and gives you a new video, and you need to adapt all the files to match the video. I've talked with people working in the industry, and they said that it sometimes even took days to do this, because you have to input the time code very precisely. If not, the frames will be off and your audio will be completely out of place. So, the solution for this, reconforming. Reconforming is a solution that is also found as a third party, if you want, but we have incorporated that into Nuendo. And now, what you need is basically the new video. And if you work in post-production, you will know when you get the video, you also get what is called the EDL, which stands for Edit Decisions Lists. And that's basically the director saying, okay, I want this scene, this scene, this scene, and you have to make the audio for it. So, you get a new video, you get a new EDL file, and that's something if you are editing video, you can, when you export the video, it gets exported automatically, so it's not like you have to type in all the time code. It will be exported from the video suite, and you already have the Nuendo project with your old version, and you put them together, and this is what you don't want to be doing manually, but Nuendo will do for you. Basically, there's a lot of information in this window, and it seems very complex, but fortunately, Nuendo will do it automatically. It will compare the old video, which has the old scenes, so you have here a lot of time code, with the new video with the new EDL, and it will make a resulting EDL. This resulting EDL will make the changes in your project automatically. So I'm going to go to the application itself. And for example, I have here a small video. So this is, let's say I'm done with this. I have all my Foley, everything that I want from music-wise also, and dialogue. And then they give me the new video. So normally, as I said before, you will have to rearrange the whole project. If I go to the reconforming window, now you will see that I have my original EDL, which is the video that I just showed. So all the scenes were here. And the new video with the new EDL and the change EDL. Now, the good thing about having it inside Nuendo is that you can preview this before doing it. And this is the reason why we have here the two videos, so the old video and the new video. And this is here for a good reason. If this do not match, there's something wrong with the change. So for example, if I skip through the change EDL, so what I want the project to be moved 2. Then I can see that the frames match. And I have a visual representation over here of what the project is going to look like afterwards. So I can preview this. This is the old video, the new video. So now I can see without doing anything, okay, now I have new video here. I need to compose new music. I have a small place here also with a new scene. So that's it for the composing and the dialogue. And if you hit preview, then you can see the project changing accordingly. So I can review this before doing it. And if I'm okay with this, then I can say, okay, start reconforming. And just like that, it reconforms the video, the project. It moved all my files to match the new video. So now I'm ready to compose over here. I still have the old video to have a reference. And also Nuendo will make markers here, and automatically, if you wish, of course, you can disable this, you have markers that will tell you, okay, the new video was here, this is the insert of the old video was here, this is the insert of the new video. If there's something wrong also with automation, or for example, if the audio was chopped in a strange way, it will also tell you, like, for example, over here, it says audio snippets, I have to check my audio over there. If the automation is colliding, it will also tell you, okay, you have to check automation on track, blah, blah, blah. So these markers are found here, and you can, as I said before, disable them. So you have a lot of options. The easiest thing is just reconforming, but it can get deeper than that. You can even restrict where the project will be reconformed. You can even have a naming scheme to select some scenes and say, I don't want to change this scene at all. So you have a lot of power for post-production work. And it's very, very easy and very convenient to have it inside the application. You can also import tracks now from other projects. So let's say you have the new scene and you want to add let's say some thunder or some music that you have in Cubase. You can import those tracks to Nuendo. Now, what I was going to get, because I'm very excited about this part, is the game audio. Now we can connect to WWise, and so far this was the way that sound designers worked for game audio. You had basically 3 steps where you make your sound design and your music, then you have the middleware, and then the game engine itself. So the current workflow would be, that's also be, in any other digital audio workstation, you make your sound, ambience, dialogue, music, you export it, you go and you find yourself with a little green little gray wall because there's no communication to WWise, or there was not communication before. And this is what they had to deal every time. Then you go into Wise, you import the files, and then the communication with metadata was made into the middleware and the game engine. So, some of the difficulties they confront: manual export and import of audio files will take you a long time. Change the assets from middleware, in this case is WWise, and then you have to manually look for the project. And then it didn't have the link between Nuendo and the middleware to exchange metadata. Now, to remind some of this, what this means, metadata is basically the information embedded into the file, so that time code, for example, naming schemes, all that will be into the file itself. And that is fairly important in game audio because you're working in an office full of people just throwing files on files. So this is very, very important for game audio. And the solution, now we have Game Audio Connect. So now, with Nuendo 7, this is the way it works. It's a straight communication with metadata to the middleware and also to the game engine. So you can basically have a very, very efficient workflow for gaming audio. So the main features about the Game Audio Connect: easy and fast file transfer. You can also open the Nuendo project from within WWise. Even if you are in a network, in an office, if I'm here with, it can be any platform, PC or Mac. From this computer here, for example, I can open the computer in the other room from within Wise, and it will recognize which project was that I used to make this. And also, apart from the metadata, which is very, very important, the naming scheme, Perforce is one software that is also supported that will keep everybody in the same version, because it's very important that nobody goes to a previous version. They all need to have a steady workflow in the same latest version, and that's what Perforce is all about. This is not needed, but I mean, it's there. If you are working in a network, it's definitely the way to go. And in comparison to the reconforming window, the Game Audio Connect window is fairly simple to use also. So if I go to Nuendo, I'm going to open a project that was given to me by a person working in the game audio industry. And this is just one workflow of how you could work. For example, they have level 1, level 2, level 3. Thunder, rain, and wind, because this was only, it was not music, it's just, as you see, the ambience. So, I'm going to open WWise. The big difference with Nuendo is that Nuendo is linear-based, and WWise is object-based. Now, what does this mean? Basically, in Nuendo, you have a timeline. So, you have time code, it all goes from left to right. In WWise, you can think of it as a very big sampler, and it's interactive. So that's why it's called object-based. It interacts with the player. So if you are approaching the zombies, then the zombie sound will start triggering. So this is the difference between Nuendo and WWise. And everything is contained in, well, containers, and all the sounds are here. And so if I make all the sound design in Nuendo, and then I have WWise, I can then connect to the game audio. So in this case, I have this little shooter game to show, and we can see how this works. So in WWise, I have my shotgun sound here. And let's say I want to change this to whatever sound. So there are 3 ways to export from Nuendo to WWise. You can drag and drop, which is the easiest one. You can also export a selection with render export, which is a new function in Nuendo 7 also. And basically means that you can render files into your project, but you can also render files into WWise or into any other computer in the network or any other hard drive. Or you can export the audio mixdown, which basically means to export the whole thing as you wish. So the one I'm going to choose now to show you is the render export. It will render any selected parts to a new track, will export the selection to disk and into Wise if you want, and you will have a very powerful naming convention. Now, if I go to my application and I show this, you will see that the sound that I have originally is standard shotgun, yes. Let's go to Nuendo. And I don't know, let's try this one. So I can go select the device and go to the render selection, and now you will see that you have plenty of options. You can just render the dry signal, which basically means only this without any effects. You can render the channel settings. That will be whatever is found on your mixer. So VSTs, EQs, anything like this. You can also render the complete signal path, which will include effect sense and buses. And you can also include the master section. So if you have let's say, a river for the whole level, then that will be also rendered. And that's why you also have for a tail size, for example. So you can put tail in seconds or bars. So fairly easy to go from Nuendo, your sound design tool, to WWise and to your game, into the same computer or into a network. I have tried this with many computers in a network, and it really works as easy as this. If then I want to recall the project, I can close this. Sorry about that, I normally work in Mac. That's why I'm struggling sometimes with the Windows. And I can say, for example, shotgun, and now I have this option where it says edit in Nuendo. So even when Nuendo is closed, I can go to the audio file, say edit in Nuendo, and say, okay, search the file, okay, and it will even remember the place in the timeline where it was created. So you don't have to even look for the project or the file in the whole thing. It's just, it will put the timeline straight where the asset was created. And this is the important thing about the metadata and sharing the metadata in the 3 stages. So Game Audio Connect, we're pretty excited about being part. It's the first digital audio workstation that ever connects to an audio middleware. So of course gamers are pretty excited about this, and it saves a lot of time. Regarding mixing, of course we have new things. For VCA is not a new thing in the audio industry at all, but we have added some new stuff. So VCA faders, before you could group tracks and you could name the group VCA, so you have control over all the tracks, but there's a big difference. And I'm going to open yet another project with music so that we can see how this VCA works. So for example, VCA is a concept that comes from the old mixing console. So voltage control amplifiers. If you had drums, like 8 channels of drums, then you group them into just one fader, and that voltage will control the amplifiers, so you had control over the whole drum kit. That's the basic idea of how this got created in the first place. So if I go to my mixing console, for example, I have here a little, let's play this little cumbia thing. So let's say I want to group my drums. So I go to a mixing console and I want to create a VCA. Get rid of some of this stuff. So add VCA fader, and I'm going to call it VCA drums. Okay. So the way we connect VCA faders in Nuendo is through the mixing console. It's through a matrix. So if you have your drums, now in this case I have them in yellow, and I want to group them into my VCA. Let's put the VCA aside of the drums so it's just easier to see. So I have my VCA now here, and I can select my channels and route them to the VCA drums. So now I can see that they move along. I can still change each of the volumes. So I can still change my drums, but the VCA will still be affecting them. And the main difference is that the automation, if I have, for example, my kick drum, my snare drum, and I want to automate some stuff. So I go to my tool of drawing, and you can still automate the channel itself. For example, I'll make one line here, and if you look at very closely, there's 2 lines appearing here, and that's because these channels are connected to the VCA. So if I automate in my VCA, you'll see that they move along. So why is there only 1 line here and 2 here? Because I did some automation in this channel, and Nuendo will put the dot automation is the one of the channel, and this is the result of this automation with this one. So, and that's why this, you can see it's the same straight, well, not straight, it's the same curve that I draw. So, if I automate also the snare, you will see that it will also create two lines, and that's basically one automation shows you the real automation of the track, and the other one is what you hear. If I'm okay with all this, let's say I do some crazy lines here because I'm working in a very demanding project and I have all this mess and I don't want to see this anymore. We can also go to the mixing console and we can combine the automation of the VCA fader and the connected channels. And what that would do is that it will return the VCA to 0 and it will print the automation into the channels. So it's a way to just not think about all these lines. You say, okay, combine automation. So I'm going to do it now, and we'll see how it looks like. The VCA drum will go to 0, and this will get printed the same automation. And by the way, this over here shows number 4, and that's because 4 channels are connected to the VCA fader. So if I go ahead and combine the automation, now you see the VCA goes to 0, and then I have the resulting automation of both. And you can still keep going. So you can keep drawing and just combine the automation anytime you want. So that's the main difference of a normal VCA, of a console. This is actually a DCA because it's not a voltage. But that's the main difference, that you can route through the mixing console to the VCA, automate, and then combine the automation. So, we also have new plugins, and I'm going to be showing some of them. For example, the Multiband Envelope Shaper is very, very good for sound design. I'm going to just get rid of all this thing over here. Let's just put straight lines into the snare drum so I can show you. Yeah, it's okay. I think so. And let's get rid of this. So I'm going to play the drums. Let's say the snare. Okay. One thing that I like about Nuendo and Cubase, you start typing whatever you want in the plugin manager, and then you get the results. So it's like an interactive search. So I start putting multi, and then it will show me the envelope shaper. That's it. And now we can start playing with the transients. This will basically play with the attacks and releases of your tracks. So, for example, you can really make it really snappy and take all the release out. Or you can make like a roomy sound, just leave the releases and take the attack out, for example. And then you can compress this and you get a completely different sound. Of course, you can change the different bands. So for sound design, it really makes a lot of sense, and it will help you play with the transients in a very easy way. So that was a Multiband Envelope Shaper. We also have a Multiband Expander. You can think about it as the opposite, as a compressor. So you can, if you have some very heavy compressed sound, you can take some of the bands and decompress it in some way. That's the main thing about it. The Quadrafuzz is a multiband distortion that has gate and delay and presets. And this is the interface of the Quadrafuzz. This is Quadrafuzz version 2. We used to have this a long time before, and now it's multiband. So basically, 4 bands with 4 different distortion types. Well, this is not distortion. The decimator is beat crusher. So it depends on your taste. You can use it or not. Gate per band, delay per band, and MS, which is basically to spread the sounds, maybe either to the center or spread it to the left and right speakers. So let's see, for example, you can get like a really tubey sound or just distort, really, really distorted. And of course it's multiband, so you can have control over the volume. And the delay, it simulates a little bit a tape delay. So if I stop it, so it will fade out with a little bit of EQ. And you have here scenes, which basically are quick presets. Of course, you can save your presets in your drive, but this will be like a quick recall, so you can A/B the sounds. And you can either use it for distorting, or you can even use it as a multiband gate, which is something that might be handy sometimes. So I can just have only my highs here, for example, or my mid-lows. So also for sound design, very nice to have, very powerful, and it will come with Nuendo 7. We have also a VST amp, which is a tool that is also nice to have all the time if you are running a little late on your production and you need a VST that makes an amplification or an analog of an amplification. Then you will have a VST amp, and it has also a better tuner than the one we used to have before. And we also have updated some plugins that were there before. For example, the multiband compressor. The new thing is that we can now sidechain it. So you have, it's not a sidechain per band, it's a sidechain for the whole thing, but then you have control over the bands. So also a new update plugin. The EQ now will show the hertz and the musical, so the musical representation in frequency. So for example, 1 kilohertz is C5, which is the C, well, you get the idea. C in, I don't know how you call it here, but it's the C chord in the 5th octave. And also, you get new slopes. So for the filters, you have more slopes than before. That also has been updated. And the de-esser also is a little bit more precise, and you have a graphical representation of what are you of the thing that you are compressing, the audio that you are compressing. And you can also solo the compressed signal, so you can hear the S that you want to get rid of. Also worth mentioning, Nuendo is also compatible with Econ 3, so you can have control with more surfaces than before. But of course, the Nuage is the main controller for Nuendo. It's a Yamaha hardware, and it's completely integrated. It's very, very, very powerful. The way it is, it's a modular system, so you can have either, this is the master section, and these are the fader sections. These are 24 inches monitors, and your channel will be aligned with your control surface. So it's really, really integrated and completely works perfectly with Nuendo. Also worth mentioning. And as general improvements, you have the dockable rack and media bay, which in this case, for example, they have only one monitor. It can become handy because I can open my racks, and then I have my VST instruments, my project, and the small representation of the console, which is the inspector, all into one window. So if I want to search for samples, I go to the media bay, which is here, and then I can locate media in hard drives or in the network. So it's just an easier way to have everything into one window and not be changing monitors if that's the case. For example, in this case. VST Connect S3 is the way to record over the internet. So basically you have Nuendo and you want to record, let's say, a piano player. So the piano player does not have to have Nuendo. He can just download for free VST Performer, and from your computer with a stable internet connection, of course, then you connect with that person with video also, or chat if you want, and then you get the data into your computer. VST Connect X3 is the version that comes with Nuendo. If you want to go multi-track, then you can get also the VST Connect Pro, and then you have even multi-track sessions over the internet. And I have tried this even with Wi-Fi, and it works fairly well. And the ASIO guard has also been improved. So, for example, just a standard computer nowadays for some facilities. Before, with version 6.5, you can see now we have almost half the demand, almost half the performance, or you demand almost half the performance to the computer. That's the way to say it. So it's very faster to open projects, to save projects, and so it's very much suited for post-production work because these projects are fairly big. And for composing, we have something that for some people might not be their cup of tea, but if you have also MIDI tempo detection, and that's, for example, if you have a piano player who played a MIDI part and the tempo is off, then you can sync the whole project to this piano player. It also works for drums, of course, or anything, so you can sync the project to the MIDI file, and all the VSTs will follow the tempo. So the delays and the reverbs will follow the drummer that was never on time. That's one of the uses of this. The chord pads and chord assistant, this will come with the expansion kit of Nuendo. And I'm going to show it. Oh, this keeps falling. So, it's a way to freely compose with chords for people who are not piano players, for example, like myself. So, now we can assign chords to any controller that you wish. For example, in this case, it has a piano configuration, but you can change this configuration if you wish for a pad like this. So it's very customizable. And the way it works is that you can put the chords so that you can play them in one note only, and the voicings, for example, will change accordingly. So it's smart enough to simulate or emulate a piano player. For example, if a good piano player will always try to not move the fingers too far away, and this is where the voicings come to play. So you can have adaptive voicings, which means, for example, I'm going to open piano player, and let's put the grand here. I'm just going to... Excuse me? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, you have the voicings, which is basically this. You can also change the chord itself with tensions. You can drag and drop that into the chord track if you wish, so that then you have even more control. For example, you can make harmony voices of audio following the chord track. Things like this, up to 4 harmony voices. And you can, of course, save these presets. So in this case, oh, sensitive. In this case, I have Let It Be. So fairly easy to play with just one keystroke. And also the acoustic drums for Groove Agents, SE4. And we have recorded 3 different drum kits, Yamaha drum kits, with a lot of microphones, because we have overheads and we also have bleeding into the microphones. Thank you very much for coming and for your time.